again, it's so important, especially in today's day and age, is to surround yourself with people that are inspiring you, that are showing you what's possible, that are maybe a few steps ahead of you. And even if you don't have those people in your reality in your life, right? Because Erran and I, we didn't know anybody who was doing any of this. But what's really cool about the digital age is that you're the sum of the 5 people you consume. Even. So who are you consuming? Who are you watching on Instagram? Who are you spending your time consuming their material? How do they make you feel? Do they inspire you or do they trigger you? Like really thinking about what you're consuming, because what you're taking in every day is really
it shapes you.
It shapes you.
What is up? Welcome to the Freedom in Scrubs podcast. I'm Erran.
I'm Kim.
And together we are your favorite hilarious, real and raw,
and married, hello.
Yes, and married travel couple.
This is the show where we are going to take you behind the scenes and share all of our crazy stories, lessons, and experiences from living on the road for the past 7 years as healthcare travelers.
Yeah.
We pretty much lived out of a Jeep with our pug, Mimi LaRue.
Yeah. So let's get this show on the road. Get it on the road, because the show's about life on the road.
So clever.
What is up?
Hey, y'all.
Welcome back.
We're so glad you came back.
I know.
Well, technically, this is episode 1. The
It
first
is.
one was the intro, just kind of about what the podcast is. But this is like the first real episode that we're sitting down to
It's pretty in-depth.
hammer out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm nervous.
No, I mean, yeah, nervous, excited. I think what's cool about this is, again, if you didn't get it from the intro episode, but Kim and I have, multiple platforms that we've been on. We're on Facebook. We have a Facebook group for travelers, healthcare travelers.
Travel Life, Freedom and Scrubs, shout out.
Traveler School.
Oh my gosh.
Our online, school for healthcare travelers. We have our Instagram that we're always on.
And
we
Kim
have
and Erran G.
We have, okay. We have YouTube. But what I'm basically getting at is we've had a busy day. We've literally worked all day at our hospitals.
Yeah.
And then we came home and we had a TravCon call because we're on the committee for TravCon, which is the world's largest travelers conference in the nation. Happens every year in September.
Yep.
Check it out. And then we did a live training for our traveler school people. And now we're sitting in our room in our pajamas.
I have no bra on.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm
there could be some
half
peep shows.
naked.
I love it.
Well, and to rewind a little bit, I also lost my wedding ring today. So it's been yesterday, but we found out, it really is gone. And so it's been a crazy day, a whirlwind of emotion, but we're still so amped and excited you guys, it's 9:20 at night. I'm usually in my night bed in my fort.
Well, you have to be at work.
Book.
You have to be at work at 6 a.m.
I have to be clocked in at work, ready to go at 6. But Aaron's I walked outside. He's like, hey, you want to go shoot? That's funny. We're used to video. You want to go record this podcast? And I'm like, yeah, let's go give it a whirl. If it's just fun. We're excited.
Yeah. So we hope you are too.
We hope that you guys are too. We hope that you...
It doesn't matter because we're going to still keep coming.
And you know what? That's what she said.
Ooh.
I know.
That was good.
I know.
That's awesome.
I know.
I mean, if you're in high school.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's your line. But just know, you guys, this is early stages for us, and we're going to keep, getting better and better and bringing more value and more fun and more cool stuff to this podcast. Yeah. So with this episode, what we wanted to do is really kind of take it back. We mentioned we're healthcare travelers. We've been traveling for 7 years, which is kind of insane to think about. But we wanted to bring it back to when we made that decision to start traveling and basically uproot our entire life and step into this crazy wild world we've been living in, and where that decision came from and what led up to that, because it's actually a very it's a good story. And I think it has a lot of value and insight and inspiration for anybody who feels stuck in their lives.
Well, absolutely. And I don't think this can be the Freedom in Scrubs podcast without telling how we achieved freedom in Scrubs.
Good point.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
like, how did we get here?
Right.
Because we didn't always have this much freedom, y'all. Like, let's be real.
No, and I think that's what we're going to get to. And I think you hit the nail on the head when it's down to with anybody feeling stuck in their lives, right? And wanting more.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we really connect to whenever we're telling this story, is that feeling. And we have a lot of people reach out and talk to us about feeling stuck. And that's kind of been like our thing.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like the more people I talk to, the more I realize that a lot of us live in a life that we feel stuck in some capacity, whether it's a job, a relationship, turn your phone off, boy. But a lot of us are stuck, or we're not even stuck, but we're just wanting more. We feel kind of a void, or we feel like something's lacking. And instead of looking at that as like something's wrong, it's actually like sitting down and exploring that and having the conversations around it of, why do I feel this way, and what changes can be made to start aligning my life in a way that I want to live it and what feels good.
Yeah,
and that's
great.
kind of what we did.
Well, it's kind of funny too, because
segue.
I'm gonna blast this, but again, how we talked about in the intro, how we watch a lot of podcasts. Last night at 11:15, I was looking at different things, and I ran across Tom Bilyeu's Impact Theory, and he was interviewing Everett Taylor, who I'd never heard of, but they basically talked about the fact that, when you realize that, right? Like you were just saying, when people are feeling stuck, actually, when you take the time to realize that you're stuck, and instead of just trying to mask it with all these different things, right, that we tend to do, like maybe I'll just buy myself a new toy, or I'll go and
have a glass of wine, or
whatever.
10.
Right. It's about having that realization, and that's the first step, and then start taking steps towards what you actually want. And as you take those steps forward, things start to get easier, things become more clear.
Agreed.
And then it just kind of opens up. I don't know. And I think our story will kind of...
Yeah, so that was a segue, which that's what pod people say. Like, it's a segue into the next section. Lingo. We're now pod people. So
are we podding?
No, we're just pod people.
Okay.
Oh, are we currently podding?
Are we podding?
Yeah, I guess we are. Like, we're potting.
Cool.
We can make that a word. Okay. So, yeah, let's kind of just dive into the story then. So, this is going to be a two-parter because there's two different parts that we kind of want to hit on. So, the first part, let's just kind of dive into where we were in our life leading up to the decision to start traveling and how we found out about traveling, which is its own crazy story because it was so divinely led. Sorry, our pug is snoring right now.
Well, and that's another little a little side note, asterisk. I mean, she is the face. She's the icon of our company, so we felt a little weird.
We didn't want to kick her out of the room. She was
I opened
crying.
the door, and I could hear her sniffling under the door. So
oh my God.
she is a pug, as you can see in the logo. So she tends to snore. So if it gets too loud, I will kick her out. Okay. But she's good now.
All right, so let's get into it. So from the get. Let me paint you a picture. It's 2010, November 13th. Look at me remembering dates. I usually always forget all the things. November 13th, we got married. And a month later, we bought a house.
Yeah, it was. December 10th.
That was like a really busy 2 months.
December 10th of 13 was our closing date.
We got married in 2010.
Sorry. Yes.
Oh my Lord. Okay.
12/10/10 was our closing date.
So we had a very busy end of the year. Yeah. I mean, those are two huge life decisions. Like, and granted, we had been engaged for 3 years or something. 2 years. Yeah. So whatever. We were already pretty much married, but we got officially married. We bought a house, and we both worked at the same hospital.
Same department.
For those of you guys who don't know us, I'm a stenographer.
We never said that.
We never even told them what we do for a living.
Well, we said we were rad travelers.
We're horrible potters. Horrible. Okay. All right. So
forgive us, everyone, please.
Let's rewind. So I'm a stenographer. And Erran does interventional radiology. We don't have time to explain what that
Ultrasound,
is.
hashtag,
Google,
not just babies.
Google what IR is. We don't have time for that.
Yes. Interventional radiology.
Erran was the lead of a department, and I was just like a normal sonographer.
I mean, I was a young savant lead.
You were a badass.
Anyway.
You made like $10 an hour.
I know. I
So we're living this life. We bought the house. We got the marriage. We have these full-time jobs. We were living in a town that our families were in. We had friends. Like, you know, everything was like okay on the outside. There was nothing like wrong.
No.
You know, there was nothing wrong. But as we were going through the motions of everyday life, do you want to say something? Because you're looking at me like you want me to stop talking.
No, you're good. Sorry.
You can't see, but he's snarling.
No, I wasn't.
You were thinking.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
We were getting into this grind where we felt like we were just working to pay our bills.
Groundhog's Day.
Yeah, every day was exactly the same. Every day we would go in, we would grind it out. We took a lot of call. I mean, Erran only had like 4 days off.
No, literally,
call a month.
I only had 4 days off. We would do 7 on, 7 off, and this wasn't just like, oh, I hold the pager for fun. Like we were getting called in.
Yeah.
And so it came out that basically I would have 2 Saturdays and Sundays off a month.
Period.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
And so
for 5 years.
And so here's the kicker too. I'll add this in as a side note because a lot of times when you take call, it's fun because you're getting some extra cash. Maybe you're saving up for a vacation, whatever it is. You're like, oh, I'll get some extra money, whatever. We got to a point where we were relying on that call that even if Erran had an opportunity to give up some of his call during the month, we were like, actually, you really can't because now we need that money just to make ends meet and just to pay our bills. And it became this like suffocating heavy way of living where we felt like we were just working to keep the lights on. We weren't even doing anything fun. Like our friends would have to like pay for us to go bowling. Like
very true.
Like we would go to my sister's for a barbecue.
We still owe them that.
We still do. We would go to my sister's for a barbecue and like we could never bring anything and like my sister would have to buy us like, you know, whatever we wanted to drink or whatever. She's like, don't worry, like I'll get your side. We didn't really have any extra money.
And I think it's funny hearing that.
That's
like
sad.
Actually hearing that and being like, you know, again, like maybe some wrong timing, wrong decisions, but I don't feel like they were. Like, we were married, the house got dropped in our lap. A good friend of mine basically gave us the house, paid us to take his house.
Because we didn't even have the money in savings for the down payment.
And so, you know, but like the monthly payment, like it went up and all that kind of stuff that we weren't expecting. And we had some, you know, we were joining our lives too. So that's another thing. You know, we both had our own lives and then we were joining lives. Yeah. And so, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Well, we had debts and we had student loan debts and we both had cars and, you know, we bought furniture for the house and honestly, we couldn't afford the house.
No.
We should never have bought that house.
But we did. We were newly married. We had everything. The house was gorgeous. Yeah. The house was perfect,
that's besides the point, right?
It was. So I think it gets down to the fact that, like, you know, all this time we realized every morning we woke up and there was that feeling of like death almost, right? Like internal, like just, I mean, what?
That's a really strong word to say.
It is.
I think there was just a feeling of like something's missing. Okay, it felt like to me like this can't be it. Like this can't be it. That we are like scrounging in our couch trying to find a couple of bucks or go to the Cash King, whatever, where you can like old school, like go to Winn-Dixie and cash in all of your change.
Oh, yeah.
And get like a 20 spot so that we could like get a pizza.
Right.
I'm like, this can't be life.
Well, and especially we both have careers that we went to college for, that we have degrees in that like pay decent money. It's a career choice. Yeah. It's not a job. It's a career choice. And we weren't able to make ends meet because one, maybe choices or...
Yeah.
But plus we were coming from Florida and we also worked in the lowest paying facility in Jacksonville.
Exactly. Yeah. So we like weren't making very much money. And again, like something that was really important to us is that we love having time off. We love traveling, obviously, right? It's a passion of ours. Like, we wanted to have all these adventures. We used to make vision boards, and we still do. We have vision boards of all the places we want to go and all the adventures we want to have. And like, that was something that was really important to us. And we couldn't even save up for a pizza pie. So we're like, how are we ever, like, we had on our vision board, one of the places was San Francisco. And I always remember that
because just wanted to go on vacation there.
It was always a dream of mine to go to San Francisco, California in general, drive down the Pacific Coast Highway. Like, it was a lifelong dream. And we started saving for that. And I think like after 6 months or so, we saved like $200.
Yeah,
like
we kept tapping into
crazy.
it.
Because we had we weren't able to like.
But I think to recap again, we were working over 40 hours a week, taking tons of call, only had 4 days off a month. We were newly married, had a house, and couldn't afford any of it.
Yeah.
And we wanted so much more.
Right.
And we felt that.
Exactly.
And that's the thing about Kim and I, one that I love about our relationship is we had the guts to sit down, newly married, and say something's wrong. It's not us.
Yeah.
It's not our relationship. Something's off. This can't be it. And I'll never forget this because I asked you, and it was like, we were still trying to learn each other too, even though like, we've been together for 2 or 3 years. Like we were still trying to learn each other because now this is new.
We're still trying to learn each other.
Oh, exactly. It's daily. But I think I was like, can you see yourself retiring as a sonographer?
Hell no.
Right. And I couldn't see myself retiring in IR. And it came to the point that I was a lead. And my next step would have been manager and then possibly director. So then that would have been more schooling, going back to school. And I didn't see that path as my personal path. When I really looked at that and dove into it, I realized that's not where I wanted to go. I explored being a rep for companies. And I realized I didn't want to do that. I really explored it. And then we went to PA. Remember, I was going to be a PA?
Yeah,
and we went to orientations and then looking into costs and like...
So let me just take it back though, because we were exploring. So first step, we were honest about the fact that something didn't feel completely right, that something was missing. Step number 1, we had the guts to have the conversation. Step number 2 is we started to explore different options, and that was huge. Like, is it going back to school? Is it starting like an adult rec center that we were like obsessed with doing? So we would go through all the options. And one thing that Erran and I did all the time was in our house, we would sit outside and Erran had a swing.
Not like a child swing, like a family bench wood swing.
Yeah, not
just
like
to paint the picture.
Yeah, like a front porch
we're
swing.
Podcasting, so we have to paint the picture.
Okay. So yeah, not like a child swing.
Like a front porch swing, but like had its own stand.
Okay.
Yeah.
We digress. So we're in the swing, or Erran's in the swing.
Of course, because I'm the only one that's allowed to swing in it.
Exactly. And I'm in my chair, my designated chair. And we used to sit out there and we would have like a glass of wine.
A glass.
Let's be real. We'd have,
a couple bottles.
Yeah. We said we were going to keep it real, right? So we'd have a couple bottles of wine. We would have these great talks and we would just we would literally sit there and just like have these like life thought-provoking conversations of like, what do we want in life? What are we looking for? Like, what do we want to do like with the rest of our lives? Because working 40 hours a week as a stenographer, doing this grind for the next 30 years is absolutely off the table for me. So like, what do we want to do with our lives? And we would just have these deep conversations and they were so much fun and they were inspiring and we would just explore possibilities and see like what came up. And just mind you, at this time we had zero idea that healthcare traveling existed. We didn't even know that was an option.
Right. And I think too, like, again, working full time in a hospital is a great career. It's great. And I think that's what we really want to try to paint is that Kim and I felt like something was off for us. Right? It didn't fit our lives. It didn't fit where we wanted to go. Do you want to say
the 5 things?
Well, yeah, that's what I was getting to. And so basically throughout all these talks, like we would go back and forth and we would just try to think, and it was almost painful trying to like, I thought maybe we would come up with the answer during those talks. But what came out of it was we boiled down 5 things that we wanted in life. And I think that was the most helpful because when I look back on that, I really feel like it was basically letting it go to the universe, to God, to whatever word you want to use, and saying, this is our criteria, and this is what we're open for, and show us the door that we can walk through to get there.
Yes.
Right? Realizing where we
Amen.
were, like Tom Bilyeu said, or not Tom, but whatever his name was, Everett said, realizing where we were and then taking steps forward to get to that direction. So the 5 things, and I usually nail these, but
I forget.
It was be creative. We wanted to be creative.
Oh, yeah.
In a job. What we put into it, we wanted to get out of. So that was the biggest thing because we're always taking call and they had a set hourly rate. So no matter how much I worked, it was always just going to be that amount, right?
Yeah.
We wanted to work together. That was a big thing. We realized that we really wanted to work together, which is crazy for most couples, right? Like,
yeah, it is. And I think because we have like this, we have this special dynamic. And one thing that we've always known, no matter what, even when we were talking about starting an adult rec room, whatever idea that was, or cooking classes, whatever, we always knew that we wanted to share stories from our own lessons. Our relationship was big because we had a crazy, like, so much in that. And like, we always wanted to share from our own experiences to hopefully inspire and add value to other people's lives. We always knew that's what we wanted to do. And build community around it. So working together as a team to be able to do that, being creative, what we put into it, we got out. Freedom, like the freedom of and at that point we didn't know exactly like what that meant. Like we've obviously gotten better language and more clarity around it now that we're living it, but we just knew we wanted more time off work. Like I did not want to have to work 40 hours a week every week and only get 2 weeks off a year to then do what I want to do. That was like a non-negotiable for me. I needed to have more freedom and time to do things that I enjoyed doing in my life. Period.
Yeah.
And the 5th thing is travel. Travel had to be a part of it.
Well, maybe there was more then because we wanted to work anywhere in the world from our computers.
That's kind of the I guess that's kind of the traveling.
The freedom.
The location independence. Like,
correct. I think that was the biggest.
And we were kind of pioneers in that thought system, at least for us, because obviously now, you know, there's online entrepreneurs. That's currently what we are, right? Like we have a business that we can run from our computer as long as we have Wi-Fi, right? We're online entrepreneurs. That's a buzzword, but that didn't exist back in 2010.
That we knew of.
Our community, we didn't know about that.
Correct.
So there was no like, we want to be online entrepreneurs. But what we did know, and the language we use, is that we wanted freedom to be able to work for ourselves, to work anywhere that we wanted to go, and to be able to take our own lives and stories and inspire other people in some way, but not be
confined to one area.
Confined to the clocking in and out every day.
That's funny.
The freaking time clock. I am done with the time clock.
And that was the biggest thing. Like I would wake up one day and you guys know, like you feel it, right? Like you wake up and you're like, God, I would rather be doing anything else than going into work, but you have to go, right? God. So like I wanted to have I cannot stand when somebody's like, go to lunch and be back in 30 minutes.
Oh my God, it's the worst.
For me, that's my biggest, like I just don't like it. Like I want to be able to go down by the water and sit and maybe listen to a podcast, like the whole thing while I have lunch, and then now I'm inspired and I'm ready to go back to work. Like that's just always how I've wanted to be ever since I was 18. And I also laughingly picked a field that never closes.
Oh my God, that's the worst part. Because in the hospital,
it never closes.
There's no set hours. It's so funny because I actually thought when we were going, I'm like, I should have been a dental hygienist because they have set hours
and holidays off,
and they're daytime hours, and there's no weekends. And I was like, I picked the wrong field because we're open 24 hours a week,
7 days a week,
7 days,
365,
or 24 hours a day. Yeah, and I'm like, damn, like what was I thinking?
But it led us to this point. Led us together.
Exactly. Obviously, it's all working for us, but those were the main things that we were looking for.
And had no idea how to achieve it.
Had absolutely no idea. And this is the funny thing is like, we're going to get into like how we found out about traveling, but for a good even before we moved into that house, we used to have conversations like this. So years and years, honestly, we would sit and we would have these conversations, not having any idea how we were going to do any of the things that we wanted to do. But we always had these fun, inspiring talks. And we were just planting the seeds, and we were just staying open to all possibilities, and we were just playing with different ideas and trusting in the process that we would be led to where we needed to go, but we had no idea what that looked like.
And it's funny because, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff was not big then.
No.
And so...
It was MySpace, I think.
It's funny because I'll probably say this a lot in this podcast, but I've learned it in another... you can tell, everything we've learned.
We're pod people.
Yeah, we are. But was basically, you only know your highest branch.
Ooh,
right?
I love that one,
And, maybe that's your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, people that you can see. But nowadays, you can get on podcasts, you can get on YouTube, and you can see you can get on Instagram and see these people living these lives, and then also be like, how did they do it?
Yeah.
And research it. We didn't have that. So for me, it was again, I knew that I wanted to live a life of passion, even though at that time I couldn't never describe it.
And you didn't put language. You're not like, I want to live a life of passion. There was no language.
Right, but I realized that when I woke up, I wanted to be stoked about getting up. Right? I wanted to be excited. I wanted to be fulfilled. And I think that was missing for me.
Yeah.
Even though we have a very fulfilling job.
Yeah.
We do.
I'm hesitant.
We're on different sides of the spectrum.
I
still do enjoy what I do.
I enjoy what I do, but and one thing, just a side note, as far as healthcare traveling, it's reignited the passion that I have for ultrasound, because I know it's a temporary thing. I'm working for 3 months and then I get a break and I get to take as much time off as I want. I know that I'm not in the grind every single day of knowing this is what I'm doing Monday through Friday until God only knows when I get time off. So I will say that, because I've never been in love with ultrasound. Ultrasound was just kind of I decided to go into it. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and it kind of just fell in my lap. And I'm grateful for it because it's opened up so many possibilities. But I wouldn't say I'm passionate about it and I'm fulfilled by it. But I'm grateful for where it's led me. But being a traveler, now I actually do like going and I do like scanning because I know it's temporary.
Right.
Anyways, we got sidetracked.
We did.
We have a whole entrepreneurial journey as well, but I feel like we'll dive into that.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother podcast.
We just said, I think these conversations were coming up, and then what that conversation did, that night was a turning point. I'll never forget it because I started crying. And I was just weeping with all this emotion because I was okay, I feel like we're one step closer.
Yeah.
And I was basically saying I wanted to live a life of passion, and I never even knew what that meant.
Right.
And so it's kind of funny because now you hear that all the time, right? Everybody
says
it. Right. But what I wanted to get back to was, we came up with something and we were trying stuff out, because I went from X-ray to IR. I looked into the manager stuff and then the PA stuff. So we were exploring.
Right. And I wanted to go back to what you said about the branches, because I think that's such a great point, is that you only know what's in front of you, or now is different because of the podcast, because of YouTube, because again, even us sharing our story, our point isn't to ramble on about ourselves for an hour. The point is that we hope that by sharing our story, you can take something away from it, from yourself. You can feel inspired for yourself. Mm-hmm. You can think about ways you're stuck and what you can do to get out of that. You can see what's possible for yourself through listening to our story, because that's been such a huge movement for Erran and I, is that listening to people's podcasts and being in people's worlds that shows us what's possible for us, jazzes us up and gets us so excited to then make steps towards what we really want in our own life. And that's the point of all of this.
Yeah, you really do need some sort of focus point, right? And I always say the rabbit in the dog racing, they're always chasing the rabbit, right? You need that rabbit to chase, or else you don't know where to run.
To see what's possible.
Absolutely.
So at that point, taking it back to there, what you were saying about the branches, at that point, I'm obviously online, being an online entrepreneur and having courses and being speakers and being influencers and having podcasts. I'm sure all those things were happening probably in a very smaller bubble, but it wasn't part of Erran and I's world. We didn't know anybody that was doing that. We didn't get into the online space really until maybe 4 years ago or something, like 5 years ago, like for real, like we realized what an online entrepreneur was. But back then, it was like the only people we saw in front of us were, friends that were married, had homes, had kids. Married, had home, had kids, went to work, 9 to 5, did the grind, worked full time. That's all I ever saw. I didn't know there was another way to live. I didn't know that you could have freedom. I just thought that's what people do. They get married, they've got kids, they go to work, they come home, they cook dinner, and they take a 2-week vacation to Hawaii maybe every year.
Yeah.
And I was not ready to sign up for that.
Yeah, and you can tell by her voice that we grew up in Florida. So
we're from Florida. Actually, I'm from Rhode Island.
But anyway, and I think too, like for you, like I saw, it's funny, I went into healthcare, but like I only thought that restaurant people like made money and had their own businesses and stuff like that.
Restaurant people made money?
But that's all I had saw. Not make money, but like they were their own, like they had a restaurant and like they owned the restaurant. And like
a chef?
No, an owner of like a restaurant, because I had friends that owned restaurants or like were getting into that, and I felt like they like kind of lived for their own self. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just shows you how low my branch was.
Yeah, I gotcha. I totally get that. And it's so, just as another side note, I think again, it's so important, especially in today's day and age, is to surround yourself with people that are inspiring you, that are showing you what's possible, that are maybe a few steps ahead of you. And even if you don't have those people in your reality, in your life, right? Because Erran and I, we didn't know anybody who was doing any of this. But what's really cool about the digital age is that you're the sum of the 5 people you consume even. So who are you consuming? Who are you watching on Instagram? Who are you spending your time consuming their material? How do they make you feel? Do they inspire you or do they trigger you? Like really thinking about what you're consuming, because what you're taking in every day is really
it shapes you.
It shapes you, and it's like contributing to how you're feeling and the steps that you're taking and what you see that's possible for yourself.
Yeah. Well, I hope that you guys choose us in your top 5.
Obvi, that's the point. I mean, hint, hint. Okay, so let's get into how we found out about traveling.
Yeah, so basically, I'll never forget this because I was on call.
Do you want to sum up? So let's sum up what we just talked about, and then we'll get into, right?
Sure.
We were working, we realized that something was missing, we talked about it, we acknowledged it, we took the steps, years and years went by, we were broke AF, couldn't afford a pizza, couldn't do any of the things, and now enter in how we found out about travel. This is you guys, this is 5 years into our careers.
Well, I do want to say too that the night that we had the conversation that I broke down crying because I felt like we reached something was the night that it was Friday of payday, and we had bills, and we were so excited that we wanted to live a little and order a pizza, and I ordered the pizza, overdrew the account on the day we got paid, and that's like 2 paychecks, and the overdraft fee was more than the pizza itself, which then tacked on more, and that's when I said something's gotta change.
Yeah.
Time is now.
Who overdraws their account on payday?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we don't get paid for 2 more weeks because we got paid weekly. It's like rock bottom.
That moment was like big. It was big. And so we just took steps forward and go ahead.
Oh, can I tell a funny story I just thought of actually? Because I feel like this will paint the picture of kind of where we were as a life standard. Okay. So again, we never had any PTO.
PTO is paid time off.
Yeah. For those of you guys who don't know. They give you 2 weeks a year. Where we work, they gave you 2 weeks a year. But anytime we could leave early or like dip out, like we always would, because we always wanted to do something else. Yeah. So I don't think I've ever had 2 weeks paid, ever. Right.
I got to 40 and I felt like the man.
Oh my God. I never even got to that. I would have 3 max, because I use it every pay period pretty much. So, but that never stopped us from still going and doing things. So, but we would just opt out of getting paid. And we luckily
Genius idea.
Yeah, we worked at a place that they were okay with that if like we could take time off. As long as we found someone to cover us. So we had no PTO, and we wanted to take a vacation. My family has a house in Rhode Island. And so we took, I think it was 2 weeks, and we went to Rhode Island, and then we decided to go to New York to go visit a friend, and like we're obsessed with New York City, like that's a whole nother episode. And so we had this whole like extravaganza, and we put it all on like a credit card. We come home to Jacksonville, okay, and we take the shuttle to go pick up our car. It's parked in the parking lot, and we go to drive it out, and the guard.
Well, the gate doesn't open.
Yeah, we didn't have the money to pay to get our car out of the lot. And I'm talking, when I say we didn't have room on our credit card, we didn't have any savings, we didn't have any money. Literally, we had to give the guy an IOU. And I think that we really did that.
I gave him an IOU with a piece of paper, and I wrote my name, my phone number, my address, and my license number.
That's humiliating.
And then literally had to pay it in like 2 weeks when we got paid, but still almost couldn't pay it then because we had not gotten paid because we took the time off.
Yeah.
Genius. Like,
we don't recommend this, kids.
No, don't. But again, I think it really, when I look back in hindsight, I look back at like, again, like we knew what we wanted. And we would just do it because this is the life we wanted to live. And we would, right or wrong.
Yeah, we did what we wanted. Could we have avoided some of the bills and the credit card debt 100%?
Well, and could we have not taken the trip and like saved?
Yeah,
but like, again, that would never happen, right? Because again, anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so the point is that just paints a picture. And I will never, ever forget that of being like, we have no money. And again, it's when you're like, oh, but we have some room on the credit card if we need to get groceries and stuff. We had nothing.
No.
And it was like, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. This like isn't working.
We had a lot of those moments.
Yeah, we really did. Okay. Yeah. So this is enter in how we found out about healthcare traveling.
So
right?
it was.
Is that where we're going?
Yeah, it was 2012.
Well, we're gonna wrap it up here.
We are. Thank you for hanging in there with us.
How long has this been?
I don't know. But it was 2012. I'll never forget this. It was a Sunday. Kim never took call on Sundays, but she decided to pick up a shift, which was amazing. I was so proud of her being.
I had to.
Being a big girl.
I had to.
She was miserable the whole time.
I was like crying.
But we went to the beach and we were walking around and we were chit-chatting and we were talking. And we literally, I swear to you, I was in my red truck. I'll never forget it. My Frontier. I was in my Frontier. And we were about to turn onto our street. I was sitting at the stoplight. And I said, something has got to change. And your pager went off.
Ugh. It's like God was calling.
I can't make this up.
God
like,
was
I can't.
I know.
I can't. And like, your pager goes off, and I'm talking instant eruption.
I was furious.
Oh my God.
Furious. Like, I was so pissed.
Because they have people covering on Sunday, but that means they needed extra help.
Right. So the skinny is there's one person working on Sunday, and then you're the backup. So if that person gets busy, they call you in. So there was already
full discretion. Like, it's at their discretion what busy is.
Yep, exactly. So I'm fuming, and because I hate call. Let's just be honest. I hate call. I don't care. I don't want the money. I don't want to get called in. I don't want to.
But she wants to spend it on trips.
But I want to spend it. I know. It's like, that's why I have you take call, because then we get the money and then everybody wins.
I know.
So I go in, and I'm like racing there like 100 miles an hour, just like so pissed. And I get there, and so there was a girl that I used to work with at another hospital. Loved her, never saw her, but she worked PRN at this other hospital I worked at. And she just happened to be working that day, which is so random. Like, we never used her. She never worked. I hadn't seen her.
And you never took call on Sundays.
And I never took call on Sundays, right? Okay, hello, divinely led. There's no other way.
100%.
Like, this was a total setup by, good old G upstairs.
Yeah.
So I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, Jen. Like, shout out to Jen. Oh, Hoya. Oh my God, I almost said Jen Scalia. Anyways, Jen Hoya. So I walk in, I'm like, oh my God, hey Jen. Like, so again, got called in. By the time I got there, all of the exams had canceled. Like, there wasn't anything for me to do, pretty much. I just drove in for no freaking reason, right? But I clocked in.
Got that 2 hours,
got
baby.
That 2 hours, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, all right. So I sat down. I'm just like, Jen, what's up? I haven't seen you. And we started just talking and catching up on life. And she told me that she and her family were about to start traveling. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? Tell me everything. Like, I had never ever heard about this before. And I'm like, tell me everything. And so she starts to tell me about what they're going to be doing and all of the things in the company that she's going through. And I am just like feeling myself like lit up. Like as she's talking about it, I'm like, oh my God, like this is insane. This sounds
about the
so
money
cool.
you make.
Yeah, the money you make, how you take 3-month contracts and then you can kind of go from there.
You're a self-employed healthcare professional.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, this is like crazy. So we end up chatting for a little bit longer, and I'm like, all right, I got to go home and like tell Erran about this. This is crazy.
Weren't you nervous though? What I was going to say.
So I'm driving home, and I'm like, Erran is gonna think I'm batshit crazy, even though we're like, oh, we want to like, you know, like find our, you know, have more time and do all the things, like, but this is like us selling our house, quitting our jobs. Jen told me about traveling. I had never heard about it. I didn't know anything about the industry. I didn't know, is this legit? Like, we didn't know anything. So like, he's going to think I'm freaking crazy. Right. And so I go home and I'm like, babe, we got to talk.
Well, she was smart. She put me on my swing.
Yeah. So like, you need to go out on your swing. And you're like, fuck, this is serious. Like, it's serious. So I tell him everything.
I thought she got fired.
Oh my God, I wish. I probably, that wouldn't be the first time I like tried to like lose my job. That's another story. Yeah. So I tell him everything Jen tells me, and I'm like, do you think I'm crazy? Like, what are, and you're just like, dude, like, let's do it. Let's go.
Again,
let's go.
That was the first time, and after all that time, we told you all those other like backstories. Because the fact that was the first thing that I had ever seen that fit all 5 things. Mm-hmm. Like, you mean to tell me we can make more money working less hours. We can travel around the U.S. We can take time off.
Yep.
We can work for 3 months and take as much time off as we want.
Which gives us more time to come, like, work on creative projects and just have more time to, like, explore their passions and hobbies.
And again, at that time, based off of the money that she had told us, because you guys were in the same industry,
right?
We realized that was what we were making with both of us working and taking call. You would make with just 40 hours. Yeah. So then we realized, well, that means one of us could just be off for 3 whole months while the other one works and trade contracts. I mean, we were
jamming.
Oh.
It was like life changing. Like, it was like all the light bulbs were going off, all the bells, all the whistles. It was like all arrows pointed to Rome. We were just like, holy crap, this is it. And we got on the internets and we started Googling things and trying to figure it out. Again, we had no idea. Is this a scam? Is this legit? Like, who's doing this? There wasn't a community like Erran and I have created now, and there's other communities out there that, like, you know, guides and helps and supports travelers. There was nothing else like that, so we didn't know anybody else doing it. So we started doing the Googles and all the things, and long story short...
Called the company on Monday.
And within a couple of months, this is what we're getting into next week. But just to sum this up, and
next week's episode,
in a couple of months, we sold our home in the worst possible market
in Florida,
and it was a very stressful time. Sold our home, quit our jobs, and I just want to preface this. These weren't jobs that we could return to. No. So the market in Florida is very competitive and saturated because there are so many schools for ultrasound and for IR.
Well, for X-ray. So there's so many schools that there are people banging down the door to try to get our job. So once you're out, it's not like, oh, this didn't work out. Like, I'm going to come home and just get my job. Like, it was like,
you're making a decision and your job isn't going to be here when you get back. Are you sure this is what you would like to do? Right?
Now, granted, we left and our manager said we have a home here anytime.
Of course, but not a full-time home, not a full-time job, right?
Not right off the bat. No.
And not only that, but we were leaving our friends and our family and like literally a whole life that we had built together, the only life that we had ever known. We were leaving all of that behind to jump into something that was completely unknown, that didn't make any sense, there were no guarantees. And so anyways, that whole next chapter was wild and crazy, and that's what we're going to dive into next week.
In part 2.
But yeah, that's kind of where this all started, and that was 7 years ago. And
in 2012.
2012, it all started. Our life completely changed, and
oh man, I just think,
wow.
I think just kind of a wrap up, again, we hear it a lot, like people have great jobs, people have great marriages, people have great homes, they have great family, they have great friends, but they still feel like something's missing. And some people feel wrong for that. I mean, am I wrong by saying that? Like, do you feel like a lot of times people feel like I should be fine, I should be happy, and they settle, right? They just settle for what they think should be right, even though that burning desire is within them.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that I'm so happy. And, my mom always said it, like, even when she first met you, she was like, man, you guys are just connected.
Aww,
and that was really cool because
mom.
We might have problems. We might have we have
we're
issues.
We're a couple. Yeah,
just like everybody else does. So we're not this magical couple.
Yeah, there's no unicorns.
But the one thing is we've always been connected. And I thank God every day that we are, because, you could have came home and I could have been like, screw you.
Right. And then
like,
what?
I just want to save my money and live in my house. And granted, at that point, if we would have just waited it out, we would have, our house payment would have came down after the first year.
Yeah, right.
And then we were paying off loans and stuff. So we would have been fine.
Right. At some point.
But we knew that burning desire was stronger and we went after it. And we didn't know how we were going to do it. Right. And I think that's what I really want to get across to everybody else who's out there, who feels that burning desire, knowing that just you might not know an answer right away, but start taking steps, leave yourself open, write what you want, set a parameter, and just be open for the opportunity to lead you there.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a great point to end on, is like, I always say, like, your desires are on your heart for a reason, right? When you have that feeling like you want more or something's missing, that's like your heart's way of trying to connect with you and communicate to let you know, hey, listen to me, like, I'm trying to lead you in a direction that will serve you, and you've got to give me the space and the time to be heard. Right? And those desires are there, those feelings are there to guide you, for you to walk out in this life, to bring to life in this life, right? They're there, bring to life in this life? I don't know. But they're there for a reason. And don't try to stifle them, and don't try to push them down, and don't try to make yourself feel like, well, I should be happy, or, oh, this is working. Like, do you really want to live in a life that you're like, because Erran and I were like, well, this works. Well, this works, or, it's like, no, I want to live a life that feels so freaking good and aligned with what I actually want. And I didn't want to work a full-time job and have a home and start having kids like everybody else I knew around me. I didn't want that. And I also didn't want to feel bad for not wanting that. I needed to figure out what I wanted and what we wanted, and get clear on that, and then make the steps to align that life and have it be coherent,
Well, I think the fear paralyzes people, right? The fear of the unknown. Like, I have all these things, and I built these things, and if I let this go, what happens? I start from scratch.
Yeah.
And that's scary for a lot of people. And I think that's the biggest thing of just trusting your gut, right? Trusting your intuition, knowing that you can always rebuild, you can always grow. And, that opportunity, and I totally miss this, but I always like saying this too, is the healthcare traveling was the first opportunity that not a lot of people get, that we could hit the reset button. Ooh. We could literally change the entire trajectory. That's a big word for me. Trajectory of where our life was going. We got a chance to restart.
Yeah, that's so true.
Right?
We really did. That's so huge. We hit reboot and we hit reset, and we started
realigned
over.
Instead of going the route that everybody says, career, marriage, house, family, all that stuff. We're like, whoa, not for us.
Yeah, you're totally right.
And then we hit reset and said, let's go towards the way that now we agree on, and let's do it.
And it's more aligned with our heart's desires and how we wanted to truly live our life, and where that would lead us. But yeah, we totally got to hit reset, reboot, start over, pause, and not everybody has that opportunity, and I totally get that. Like, but we all make choices every single day that are leading us in our life. Okay, that makes no sense. Alright, we're gonna cut that out. We all make choices, alright? We're gonna leave it at that because I'm tired.
We all make choices? Well, I mean, you can't just leave it at that.
We all are, like, even though you might not be able to...
Are you saying you can't change? Everybody can't change their life dramatically, but you can make small steps in a direction that you want to go?
Thank you. You totally, yes. That's exactly what I mean. Like, we can make small steps every single day towards the things that we want to achieve in our life, and those come from every choice that we make. How we're spending our time, what we're consuming, if we're listening to actually what we want, or we're trying to stifle down how we're feeling. Like, we're all making choices every moment. And
maybe it's less TV and more books.
Right.
Maybe it's less TV and more playing the guitar or sex, I guess. I mean, if that's where you want to go. But
whatever you want to do.
Again, less TV. You notice how I always go there because I feel like that's...
Because TV was our thing. We watched too much of it.
We'd come home, we'd watch TV, and I feel like that's a lot of the population, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of what you do.
Right.
So
yeah,
anyway.
I totally agree.
Yeah, so...
all right, let's end it here.
We hope you took something from this. Again, we'll give you part 2.
And please... leave a review.
Oh, please.
So you guys were really this means a lot to us. If you're still listening, thank you. We are really wanting to get this podcast out there and to have it recognized and for people to be able to find it. And so in order to do that, it's a new podcast. So we so appreciate your support, which for us is leaving a review, leaving a good review, leaving a 5-star review, and writing a comment. We would so deeply appreciate that, and share this with your friends.
And if you have room for a bonus, share it with your friends, right?
Yeah.
If you're inspired by this, share it with your friends.
Yes.
And like the more the merrier. We want to build this community of people, and we can't wait to keep going.
Yep.
Super
Episode
excited.
2.
Yeah,
you can dive right in. It's already available.
And we made it easy because you can go to www.freedomandscrubs.com and leave a review and subscribe.
Oh, that's true, because we're setting, that's super.
I mean, we are new people.
freedomandscrubs.com, and you can click there. You can leave a review, and we would appreciate that. And continue on to part 2, and we're going to dive into all the crazy stuff that actually went into us having this grand idea and this like, oh my God, this is so
now
cool.
It take some steps.
Now it's reality, and that transition from actually
scary.
Going from that full-time life to going into this nomadic life where we literally live out of a car. It was an intense time. So we're going to talk about that on the next episode.
Yep. So we'll see you guys there.
All right.
Bye.
Keep living free.
Deuces. Oh, keep living
so
free.
Cheesy.
God.
Wait, what can we say? What's our sign off?
I don't know. You guys let us know. What's a good sign off?
Live free.
No, I don't like that. All right, guys. Bye.